There are places in the world that have been conquered. There are places that have been destroyed. And then there are places that seem almost impossible to erase. Iran is one of them. Long before modern borders existed, long before Islam, long before Christianity, long before the Roman Empire, civilizations were already rising on the Iranian plateau. Cities were being built. Kings were fighting for territory. Merchants were crossing deserts and mountains. And cultures were developing that would eventually influence some of the greatest empires the world has ever known. For more than 6,000 years, this land has experienced almost everything history can offer. The rise of ancient kingdoms, the birth of Zoroastrianism, the Persian Empire of Cyrus the Great, the invasion of Alexander, the rise of the Parthians, the mighty Sasanian Empire, the Arab conquest and arrival of Islam, Mongol destruction, the rise of the Safavids, European interference, oil, revolution, war, sanctions, and a confrontation with the modern world that continues today. But the most remarkable part of Iran's story isn't simply that empires rose and fell here. It is that the civilization itself survived them. This is the story of Iran, from approximately 400 BC to the present day. To understand Iran, we have to go back thousands of years before the word Iran meant a modern nation. Around 400 BC, southwestern Iran was already home to sophisticated settlements. One of the most important was Susa, in the region that would become known as Elam. Archaeological evidence places the foundation of Susa around the 4th millennium BC. This was not yet Persia. It was not yet the Iranian Empire. But it was the beginning of a civilization that would dominate southwestern Iran for centuries. The people of Elam developed their own language, political institutions, religious traditions, and artistic culture. Their capital, Susa, became one of the great centers of the ancient Near East. And Elam was not isolated. It interacted constantly with Mesopotamia, the region between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The great civilizations of Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, and Assyria would repeatedly clash with Elam. Sometimes Elam attacked Mesopotamia. Sometimes Mesopotamian kings invaded Elam. But Elam endured. For thousands of years, different kingdoms rose and disappeared across the Iranian plateau. Around the 3rd millennium BC, the region was already connected to long-distance trade networks. In southeastern Iran, the Giraffe cultural complex produced distinctive stone vessels and other sophisticated objects. Meanwhile, Elam continued to develop in the southwest. By around 2700 BC, an Elamite kingdom had emerged with Susa as one of its major centers. Iran was becoming a crossroads. To the west was Mesopotamia. To the north were the Caucasus and Central Asia. To the east stretched the vast Iranian plateau. And through these mountains and deserts moved merchants, migrants, warriors, and ideas. But another transformation was coming. During the 2nd millennium BC, waves of Indo-Iranian-speaking peoples entered and settled across parts of the Iranian plateau. The precise process was complicated. It did not happen in one single invasion. Different groups moved across Central Asia and into regions that would eventually be associated with Iranian peoples. Among them were groups later known as the Medes, Persians, Parthians, and others. Their languages and cultures would become part of what we now call the Iranian world. And one of the most important developments was the emergence of an ancient religious tradition associated with the prophet Zarathustra, known in the West as Zoroaster. The exact date of Zoroaster remains disputed. Some scholars place him very early, while others place him much later. But his teachings eventually became the foundation of Zoroastrianism. At the center of this religious worldview was a cosmic struggle between truth and falsehood, order and chaos. The supreme deity was Ahura Mazda. Human beings were expected to choose truth, righteousness, and good action. The religion would later become deeply connected with Persian kingship, and eventually, it would influence the civilization that was about to change world history. By the 1st millennium BC, several Iranian peoples had become politically important. Among the most powerful were the Medes. The Assyrians recorded the Medes by name as early as the 9th century BC. For generations, the Medes lived under pressure from the powerful Assyrian Empire. But eventually, the balance of power changed. In 612 BC, Median forces joined with the Babylonians in attacking Nineveh, the capital of Assyria. The Assyrian Empire collapsed, and the Medes became one of the major powers of the region. But another Iranian kingdom was rising in the south, the Persians. Their homeland was centered around Persis, or Fars, in southwestern Iran. And from this region emerged a man whose name would become legendary. Cyrus the Great. Around 550 BC, Cyrus defeated Astyages, the Median king. But rather than simply destroying the Median political system, Cyrus incorporated it into his expanding kingdom. This was the beginning of one of the greatest empires of the ancient world, the Achaemenid Persian Empire. Cyrus did not stop with Media. He moved west. He conquered Lydia. He expanded across Anatolia. Then came Babylon. In 539 BC, Cyrus captured Babylon. And suddenly, a kingdom from the Iranian plateau had become a vast empire stretching across much of the ancient Near East. But Cyrus became famous for more than military conquest. His empire was unusually diverse. Persians, Medes, Babylonians, Egyptians, Jews, Phoenicians, Greeks, and many other peoples lived under Persian rule. Cyrus generally allowed conquered populations to maintain many of their local customs and religious traditions. This helped him rule an empire that was enormous by ancient standards. One famous example concerns the Jewish population that had been exiled to Babylon. Under Cyrus, many were permitted to return to Jerusalem. This tradition contributed to Cyrus's reputation as a comparatively tolerant conqueror. The famous Cyrus cylinder, discovered in Babylon, has sometimes been called the world's first declaration of human rights. That description is popular, but historians generally consider it too simplistic. The cylinder is a Babylonian royal inscription, not a modern human rights charter. Nevertheless, it provides important evidence about Cyrus's rule and his presentation of himself as a legitimate Babylonian king. Cyrus eventually died during a military campaign, but the empire he created survived him. His successors would take it even further. One of Cyrus's greatest successors was Darius the Great. Darius inherited an empire that was already enormous, but he transformed it into a more organized imperial machine. The Persian Empire was divided into provinces called satrapies. Governors administered the provinces. Taxes were collected. Roads connected distant territories. And a royal communication system allowed information to travel across thousands of kilometers. One of the most important routes became known as the Royal Road. The empire also developed an impressive administrative system involving multiple languages and traditions. At its height, the Achaemenid Empire stretched from parts of Central Asia and the Indus region, through Iran, Mesopotamia, Anatolia, Egypt, and towards southeastern Europe. The Persian kings built magnificent ceremonial centers. At Persepolis, monumental staircases and reliefs depicted delegations from across the empire bringing tribute. The message was clear. The Persian king ruled a world of many peoples. But Persian expansion eventually collided with the Greek city-states. And this produced one of the most famous rivalries of antiquity: Persia versus Greece. The Persian invasions of Greece included the famous battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis. The Greeks eventually resisted Persian expansion, but Persia remained one of the world's greatest empires, until another conqueror appeared. His name was Alexander. In 334 BC, Alexander of Macedon invaded the Persian Empire. The Persian king at the time was Darius III. Alexander defeated Persian forces repeatedly, and in 331 BC, at the Battle of Gaugamela, the Achaemenid Empire suffered a decisive defeat. Alexander entered Babylon, then Susa, and eventually Persepolis. The magnificent Persian ceremonial capital was burned. The exact circumstances and motivations remain debated. Some ancient accounts portray the destruction as revenge for Persian attacks on Greece. Others suggest the fire may have been partly accidental or politically motivated. Whatever the precise explanation, the Achaemenid Empire was finished, but Persian civilization was not. Alexander died in 323 BC. His empire fractured. Greek-speaking rulers known as the Seleucids controlled much of Iran. Greek culture spread across the region, but Iranian political traditions survived beneath the surface. And soon, a new Iranian power would rise. Around the 3rd century BC, a people known as the Parthians began expanding from northeastern Iran. The Arsacid dynasty eventually created a powerful empire. And for centuries, the Parthians became one of Rome's most dangerous rivals. This was not simply a series of wars. It was a struggle between two enormous civilizations, Rome in the west, Parthia in the east. The conflict was fought across Armenia, Mesopotamia, and the frontier regions between the two powers. And in 53 BC came one of Rome's most humiliating defeats. The Roman general Marcus Licinius Crassus invaded Parthian territory. At Carrhae, the Parthians used highly mobile cavalry and mounted archers to destroy the Roman army. Crassus was killed. Thousands of Roman soldiers were captured. The defeat became legendary. Rome would continue fighting Parthia for generations. Neither empire could completely destroy the other. But eventually, Parthian power weakened, and another Iranian dynasty emerged, the Sasanians. In the 3rd century AD, Ardashir I defeated the last major Parthian ruler and founded the Sasanian dynasty. The Sasanians saw themselves as heirs to the great Persian imperial tradition. They rebuilt centralized royal authority. Zoroastrianism received strong state support, and Iran once again became a major imperial power. Then came one of the most famous Sasanian rulers, Shapur I. Shapur fought Rome repeatedly. In 260 AD, he famously captured the Roman Emperor Valerian, a Roman emperor. In Persian captivity, the Sasanians and Romans fought for centuries. Sometimes Persia won, sometimes Rome or Byzantium won. But the rivalry transformed the political and cultural landscape of the Middle East. Then came Khosrow I, known as Anushirvan. His reign became associated with administrative reform, military strength, and intellectual development. Persia became a center of scholarship. Knowledge from Greek, Indian, and other traditions entered the Sasanian world. But in the 7th century, the empire faced disaster. A devastating war with Byzantium weakened both great powers. Then came the rise of Islam in Arabia. In 632 AD, Muhammad died. Within a few years, Arab Muslim armies were moving into Byzantine and Sasanian territories. The Sasanian Empire was about to face an enemy unlike any it had encountered before. In 636 AD, Persian forces suffered a major defeat at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. In 637, Arab Muslim forces captured Ctesiphon, the Sasanian capital. The Persian king Yazdijerd III fled eastward. The empire was collapsing. By the middle of the 7th century, Sasanian political power had effectively disappeared. But something important happened next. The conquerors could take the empire, but they could not simply erase Persian civilization. Islam spread throughout Iran. Arabic became extremely important in administration, scholarship, and religion. But Persian survived. And over the following centuries, Persian culture helped shape the Islamic world itself. Persian poets, scientists, philosophers, physicians, and administrators became enormously influential. The Iranian world entered a new era. Arab dynasties ruled. Then Iranian dynasties emerged. The Samanids helped revive Persian literary culture. The Ghaznavids expanded Persian influence into Central and South Asia. The Seljuks created another powerful empire. And then, in the 13th century, one of the most devastating invasions in Iranian history arrived: the Mongols. In the early 13th century, Genghis Khan's Mongol armies began expanding across Central Asia. Iran was devastated. Cities were destroyed. Populations were killed or displaced. Agricultural systems suffered enormous damage. In 1258, the Mongol conquest of Baghdad destroyed the Abbasid Caliphate. Iran eventually came under the rule of the Ilkhanids, a Mongol dynasty that governed much of the region. But once again, something remarkable happened. The conquerors gradually became Persianized. They adopted Islam. They patronized Persian culture. And they became part of the civilization they had conquered. This pattern would repeat throughout Iranian history. Invaders arrived. They conquered. They ruled. And eventually, they absorbed Iranian culture. But the next transformation would be different. It would create the foundations of modern Iranian religious identity. In 1501, a young ruler named Shah Ismail I established the Safavid dynasty. This was a turning point. The Safavids made 12er Sharia Islam the official religion of their state. Over time, Iran became one of the world's major centers of Sharia Islam. The Safavid state also helped consolidate Iran as a distinct political territory. One of its greatest rulers was Shah Abbas I. Under Shah Abbas, the empire became powerful and wealthy. The capital, Isfahan, was transformed. Grand mosques, palaces, bridges, markets, gardens, The famous Nakshi Jahan Square became a symbol of Safavid grandeur. Persian art, architecture, and commerce flourished. But Iran faced powerful neighbors. To the west was the Ottoman Empire. To the east were Central Asian powers. The Safavids and Ottomans fought repeatedly. Yet the Safavid transformation lasted. Even after the dynasty eventually collapsed in the 18th century, the religious identity it had established remained one of the defining characteristics of Iran. After the Safavids came political instability. Eventually, the Qajar dynasty established itself. But 19th century Iran faced a new kind of threat: European imperialism. Russia expanded southward. Britain sought influence in Persia and the wider Middle East. Iran increasingly found itself caught between competing foreign powers. The country lost territory to Russia through a series of wars and treaties. Meanwhile, European economic influence increased. Then something transformed Iran's future forever: oil. In 1908, commercially significant oil was discovered in southwestern Persia. The discovery would eventually make Iran strategically vital to the modern world. But it also created a complicated relationship with foreign powers. Oil wealth brought revenue. But many Iranians believed foreign companies and governments were taking too much control over their country's resources. This tension would become one of the defining themes of 20th century Iranian history. In 1925, Reza Khan became Shah and established the Pahlavi dynasty. He attempted to transform Iran into a modern centralized state. The government expanded education. The military was reorganized. Infrastructure developed. The legal system changed. And the state pursued rapid modernization. But modernization came with authoritarian rule. Traditional institutions were weakened. Religious authorities lost influence. And the government increasingly imposed its vision of what modern Iran should become. During World War II, Reza Shah was forced to abdicate. His son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, became Shah in 1941. After the war, Iran entered an increasingly turbulent political period. In 1951, Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized the Iranian oil industry. The conflict with Britain escalated. In 1953, Mossadegh's government was overthrown in a coup supported by the United States and Britain. The Shah's authority increased. Iran became a major Cold War ally of the United States. The government launched ambitious modernization programs. But political repression also increased. And beneath the surface, resentment was growing. By the late 1970s, Iran was wealthy by regional standards. But wealth did not mean political stability. The Shah's government was authoritarian. Rapid modernization had disrupted traditional society. Religious opposition was growing. Left-wing groups were active. Nationalists were dissatisfied. And many people believed the monarchy had become too dependent on the United States. At the center of the growing opposition was an exiled cleric, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. In 1978, protests spread across Iran. Strikes paralyzed the economy. The monarchy began to lose control. In January 1979, the Shah left Iran. Weeks later, Khomeini returned. The monarchy collapsed. And in April 1979, Iranians voted in a referendum establishing the Islamic Republic. Iran had undergone one of the most dramatic political transformations of the 20th century. The monarchy was gone. A new Islamic political system had emerged. But the revolution was only the beginning. In September 1980, Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein invaded Iran. He believed the revolution had weakened Iran. He was wrong. The war lasted 8 brutal years. Cities were bombed. Hundreds of thousands were killed. Chemical weapons were used by Iraq. The conflict became one of the bloodiest wars of the late 20th century. Iran mobilized millions of people. Young volunteers were sent to the front. The war eventually ended in 1988 without producing the decisive victory either side had wanted. Iran was exhausted. But the Islamic Republic had survived. And its survival shaped Iranian politics for decades. After the war, Iran faced reconstruction. But another conflict was developing. This time, it was not fought mainly with tanks. It was fought through diplomacy, sanctions, intelligence, economics, and regional influence. Iran's relationship with the United States remained deeply hostile. The nuclear program became a major international issue. In 2015, Iran and major world powers reached the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, commonly known as the Nuclear Deal. Iran agreed to restrictions on its nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. But in 2018, the United States withdrew from the agreement and reimposed sanctions. Iran subsequently expanded nuclear activities beyond the limits of the agreement. Tensions continued. Meanwhile, Iran developed significant influence across the Middle East through alliances and armed groups in countries including Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. Its rivalry with Israel became increasingly dangerous, and the question remained, could Iran and the West ever reach a lasting agreement? Then came another turning point. In 2022, Iran was shaken by nationwide protests following the death of Mahsa Amini after she was detained by Iran's morality police. The demonstrations became one of the largest challenges to the Islamic Republic in years. The slogan, "Women, Life, Freedom," spread around the world. The government responded with a major security crackdown. The protests eventually declined in intensity, but the political and social consequences remained. Iran continued to face economic pressure from sanctions. Inflation and unemployment remained major concerns, and tensions with Israel and the United States continued to escalate. In 2024, Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi died in a helicopter crash. Masoud Pezeshkian subsequently won the presidential election. But the Iranian political system remained dominated by institutions in which the supreme leader holds enormous authority. Then came an even more dangerous period. By 2026, Iran's confrontation with the United States and Israel had entered a far more dangerous phase. Recent developments have included military strikes, ceasefire negotiations, disputes over the Strait of Hormuz, and renewed confrontation involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. As of August 2026, the situation remains fluid. Iranian officials have warned of further escalation if diplomatic agreements are not implemented, while Washington has threatened severe consequences. The Strait of Hormuz has become one of the central pressure points. Why? Because a huge portion of the world's energy trade passes through this narrow waterway, and Iran sits directly beside it. And this brings us back to the beginning. More than 6,000 years ago, people were already building settlements in the lands that would become Iran. Elam rose. Elam fell. The Medes emerged. Cyrus built an empire. Darius organized it. Alexander destroyed it. The Parthians challenged Rome. The Sasanians rebuilt Persian power. Arab armies conquered the Sasanian Empire. Islam transformed Iranian society. Persian culture transformed the Islamic world. The Mongols destroyed cities and then became Persianized. The Safavids transformed Iran's religious identity. The Qajars faced European imperial pressure. The Pahlavis attempted rapid modernization. The 1979 revolution destroyed the monarchy. The Iran-Iraq war tested the new republic. And today, Iran remains one of the most strategically important countries on earth. But perhaps the most important lesson of Iranian history is not about any particular king. It is about survival. Empires have come and gone. Foreign armies have crossed its borders. Capitals have burned. Dynasties have disappeared. Religions have transformed. Political systems have collapsed. Yet something remained. A language, a literature, a cultural memory, a sense of civilization. The Persian poet Ferdowsi spent decades composing the Shahnameh, the Book of Kings. Its stories preserve the memory of Iran's legendary and ancient past. And perhaps that is why Iran's history is so difficult to erase. Because Iran was never only an empire. It was never only a dynasty. It was never only a religion. It was never only a modern political state. It was a civilization. And civilizations, if they are deeply rooted, can survive the fall of almost everything built on top of them. From the ruins of Susa to Persepolis, from Ctesiphon to Isfahan, from the Achaemenid kings to the Islamic Republic, Iran's history is a story of destruction and rebirth. 6,000 years of invasion, 6,000 years of adaptation, 6,000 years of survival, and the story is still being written.